Recording.
Okay.
The problem is my monitor for you is higher, so I keep my, I'm not looking into the camera. I'm looking up at you.
You looking up at me, are you?
I am.
That's a first.
It is first. All right, ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Every sports fan has an opinion. Well, these are ours. Welcome to Brock and Pep's Unsportsmanlike Convo. And here are your hosts, Brock Fleming and Pep Cariotti.
What up, what up? Happy Friday, everybody. It is October 2nd? It's October 2nd. We're in October. Patio furniture is going to be starting to put away. Garage is cleaned up. The old fall bundle, if you want to call it, I guess, where we just put everything away and change the tires on the truck and get ready for winter.
This is true. Do you know the precise temperature that you're supposed to change your tires when in and or around when the weather gets a certain level? Any idea?
Yeah. No, 7 degrees Celsius.
Yeah, close. Yes, 7 to 8 degrees. Exactly. Yeah. So anything above that, you might want to keep your summers on. Anything below that, you want to take your summers off. So good call to you. 1 point, Brock.
Bing. There you go. Air horn? We got one of those.
Yeah.
All right.
What do you think of this big nasty on my mouth here? What do you think of that? I'm just going extended goatee.
See, you're very lucky. One, it's still got some darkness in it, which mine doesn't. But you can also play around with it and say, you know what, I'm going to shave it off, and then I'm going to start all over because, one, it grows back quickly, but two, you don't look bad without facial hair. Which actually, this is not planned segue, but I did have this. This is it was sent to me by my sister-in-law. It was taken 10 years ago. We were up at her parents' place up in Espanola. I think Savina was super young at the time, and I think it was around this time of year. We were getting close to November, so Movember and whatever. Anyway, for some reason, the guys are up there. We shaved and just had our mustaches, and I was wearing some stupid riding hat. But this is what I look like.
What? That is incredible.
Yeah, so that's also why I am no longer allowed to shave. Yeah, it's the beard covers up a lot of hideousness, and that's
I don't know about that, pal.
Well,
yeah, that's an awkward look. I mean,
it's an awkward look, and yeah. Anyway, I'm glad she had it and she shared it with me yesterday, so it was very fitting. I guess she got some reminder on Facebook that it's been 10 years, and this is the memory you want to remember. I don't think it is, but she sent it to me anyway.
Outstanding.
Yeah. That's Mike Bignet's wife. So Mike would have had his stash up there somewhere and whatever, too. I got to look for pictures for that.
I found some. Actually, I should probably show you this picture. It's up on my wall, but it's you, me, Gord, and Mike Ferreira sitting at the Elgin Street Diner, what looks like to be after work, and we're just look like we clearly haven't been drinking because I think the way we're dressed it looks like we just came from work.
Okay,
but we're laughing our asses off, all four of us who have a huge smile on our face, and someone took the picture. And people got to keep in mind this is like 2001, so there wasn't anything digital. This was a camera with film developed. I'm assuming it was Mike's camera, but that's where I got the picture from. Anyway, I'll take a picture and send it to you.
Yeah,
it's pretty hysterical. That. Yeah,
those are good times. Some good stories in that Elgin Street Diner.
Yeah.
Some good food in that Elgin Street Diner.
Delicious. You know what? I we're not planning to talk about COVID or anything like that, but I read an article yesterday that these two middle-aged guys in their mid-40s, and you know what? This doesn't surprise me because I remember when we were doing the bar thing. There were always a couple of dudes who just like lifelong drinkers and irresponsible behavior, being promiscuous and all that other stuff. This kind of stuff doesn't surprise me.
When you read that article, did you not think back to the bar days and say,
yes,
there's about 6 guys that I can picture being those
easily
2 guys?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And then the one guy's a federal federal employee. So like, it's not like these guys are just Jim and Bob who are like drinking all day and all night. These guys are like, they're professional guys, and it's like use your head, guys. And they forget that. Let's say they infected nobody. Let's say there's nobody no one's been infected other than themselves. They're responsible for shutting down 5 bars simply by going there. So those bars should sue the hell out of them.
Oh yeah, they're known. If they're known, like they're speaking, obviously they know who these guys are. There should be consequences for that. 100%. Fines, whatever. Definitely there's got to be some consequences. So I really hope it comes. I read through the whole article. I was waiting for them to name the guys. Yeah. But obviously that didn't happen, but there should be charges laid. 100%, I would support that.
Well, as I was watching the what was just a penalty-filled, just awful Thursday nighter that ended up being a high-scoring game, surprisingly, an alert came on my phone and on television that the president had been tested for COVID and was waiting for the results. When I woke up this morning, I saw what the results are. The president has tested positive for COVID, as well as his wife, Melania, the first lady. I want to just put one thing to rest. I don't wish the guy death. I don't want anyone to die from this thing. There's going to be a lot of jokes circulating around the internet. I even posted something on Facebook about them hanging out and watching Netflix for the next 14 days. It's funny, but I don't want the guy. I don't wish the guy death. And I'm seeing a lot of that on the internet. Like, I hope he gets sick enough that he has an appreciation for this virus, and then I hope he gets well. Like kind of like when Scrooge, met the 3 ghosts and had to change a heart when he woke up the next morning. I doubt this is going to happen. In fact, I think this is what I predict. He's going to survive it, no problem, and he's going to come out and see, I told you, I'm strong enough. And I'm 74, and that's the likely scenario. But who knows? Crazier things have happened. It's unlikely. But anyway, I do wish him a speedy recovery, because Lord knows we don't need Mike Pence.
I'm not getting into any politics of watching the debate. Actually, I didn't even watch the debate. But watching the reactions of people watching the debate and after the debate, it's a scary time. Like I'd have I would not want to be an American at this time, to be honest. It's just, it's scary. And I don't think necessarily either candidate's really going to stand out. But anyway, it was the reactions of the reporters, where one lady calls it a shit show. And the other one said that was a hot mess of like steaming garlic. And these are watching that live professional report. That's hilarious.
I was watching that. That was CNN. I turned to CNN as soon as the debate. It wasn't a debate, by the way. It was one guy talking, and they weren't even debating anything. They were just insulting each other.
Yeah.
But I turned to CNN, and the one guy said it's a tire fire inside a bus inside and then it turned to Dana Bash, and she says, "You're gonna have to forgive my language, but that was a shit show." So that's pretty shocking news coming from CNN. Anyways, we are not a news channel; we're a sports channel, and we got a lot of sports to cover here. I'll start with baseball, unless you got anything else you want to add in the world of current events.
I don't think so. We did get some rare footage of a Raptors game. I think you sent it to me. Not sure if you guys saw this. This was the. This is.
I got way too much time on his hands. If you haven't downloaded ReFace, I highly recommend it. That's me as Nick Nurse. That's Curtis as Drake, and then Brock is Mike Devlin in the back there.
Good God,
with Leo.
Anyway,
so good.
That's
anyway.
I have to re-download it. Anyway,
baseball. Right. We're disappointed in the Jays' performance, Brock, or
surprised? No. Disappointed? Yes. Disappointed in. I was disappointed in Game 1 with the move to pull Schumacher, especially again with a 3-game series. You really ride the hot hand. I thought he was hot, so let him go. It ended up being not a horrible game plan, I guess, if it was a matter of maybe Schumacher could pitch sooner because of the fact that he was limited in pitch counts and whatnot. And the change of pace I thought worked fairly well. So, like they said, 6-7 innings with 2 pitchers and you get one run. It's not a bad thing. I would have liked to have seen him do Schumacher, a little bit longer. So I understand his frustration. Disappointed in Ryu in terms of, I know it was a short rest, but his stuff just wasn't there whatsoever. And even the stuff Tampa hit him. They were hitting pitches that were outside the strike zone. They were moving outside the strike zone. They were just getting bats on balls. Mm-hmm. I was disappointed in Bichette. Just the 2 errors, the one I saw him, it looked like he had his feet under him, looked like he had everything, and then he sort of floated the ball over to first base. And I thought, what was that? I had to rewind it and watch. I'm like, did he trip? Did something? And then he had another one. I just thought, okay, that's where I think the youth was coming through in terms of maybe being overexcited in a playoff, trying to do too much or trying to, you know what I mean? You just kind of get inside, you're sort of pumped to make a play, and then it just goes to shit, and then you're kind of out of it for me for the next play. I don't know exactly, but Bichette, from a core guy that we needed to see that come through, I was disappointed in that. I was disappointed a couple times Biggio at bat. I think I texted you. I'm like, yeah, he's got a great eye. He doesn't swing at pitches outside the strike zone. And then I'm watching him, I'm like, you're not swinging at strikes in the strike zone. Mm-hmm. Pitches that are coming right down the center. Get your bat off your shoulder. I hate that. For me, and whatever, when I played baseball, I was like, I'm going to strike out or I'm going to hit the ball, but I'm not going to, at the time, I'm paying money to play baseball, right? So I'm not going to go up there and let the bat sit on my shoulder and not swing. I'm paying to swing. But same idea. I was just like, why are we watching strike 3? That's the worst thing. I'd rather you have a huge cut and then miss it than to watch it go. You know what I mean? So that was frustrating from a fan standpoint because I'm just like, we need to get something going. And again, the core guys that we need to take that next step are the Biggio, Bichettes, Vladdy too, to a point. But I also saw an interview. I'm kind of going off here, but I saw an interview with Vladdy where they asked him, do you think you're a leader? And he's kind of like, a leader takes control of the team. I'm more of like hey, I'll welcome you to the team and be your friend and whatever. And I really, honestly, I guess you got to know your role, and maybe there's a language barrier there. So from that, but I don't know. I would have liked to have. It seemed like he didn't want to be a leader, and I think that's what maybe irked me a little bit. Every player who gets up there should, especially in his sort of situation and the expectations of what he's coming in with, and the pedigree and all that kind of stuff, you would think you would sort of want to be that. You'd need that sort of killer, hey, I don't need to be talking up and taking control of the team, but I need to lead by example. You know what I mean? There's different kinds. Mm-hmm. Anyway, his answers with being I'm just everybody's friend and I'll welcome you to the team and whatever. I'm not really a leader. And I was just kind of that answer for me from a professional athlete standpoint, it didn't quite sit well with me. And I think that's what's going to be the separator between him being phenomenal or him being run of the mill. Is it going to be that killer instinct, that drive, that competitiveness, and that response kind of didn't do it for me.
That's true. It's tough, especially Vladdy's his own case. I find Vladdy to be still coming into his own, still not as mature as maybe he needs to be, but he's only 21. Of course, it's not an excuse, but he is only 21. You look at guys that maybe have the same sort of power as he does. It took a long time for Edwin Encarnacion to actually be a good hitter. He was a cast off in a trade in the Scott Rowland trade when he came to the Jays, and I think he had his best year at that time was only 10 home runs. So, it takes time for these guys to develop. You want Vladdy to develop a lot quicker, obviously. You're investing a lot in him. I haven't seen anything from Vladdy other than a couple of mini little hot streaks where he goes 3 for 4, but nothing in the power department that's really aside from the home run derby. He's played an absolutely terrible first base. He has been awful at first base. Bichette, I'm going to give him a pass only because he's been so good all year. I just think the Trop is a tough place to play. the pressure maybe of the moment. He just underestimated the speed of the runner and just threw it like just experience. It's all experience. They have none. And Bichette, I mean, you got to get the bat off. You got to get the bat off your shoulder. I mean, but again, maybe their best player all year. I don't think he missed a game. Yeah, Biggio. Yeah, I mean, Biggio's bit was awesome. It's guys like
Vladdy played all 60 games. That was one thing. I saw that he played all 60 games this season.
Yeah, I mean that's amazing stuff. And it looks like we have something in Gurriel in left field. Teoscar had a good year. There's a lot to be happy about. Specifically these two games, though, like I think you nailed it. I'm surprised they took Shoemaker out. He was rolling, and even if the score was so close, and it didn't really end up mattering that much that they pulled him because Robbie Ray came on, and actually the run that they got was off a wild pitch, so like the catch went through. So I mean, he pitched well, but just the confidence that you have behind you, the guys behind you, knowing that he's coming out and he's pitching his heart out. You elevate your game as a batter and as a defender, and you just kind of throw the mix off when you took him out. It didn't make a lot of sense. I was reading an article today that they don't think it's Charlie's call. They don't think it was even Pete Walker's call. They think that it was the guys above who said, "This is how we're going to run this. We invested in Robbie Ray. We want to see him pitch." Yeah, you take your chances. You took your chances by not putting Ryu to pitch game one. Rio could have gotten shelled game one, and game two you could have regrouped. It could have been the other way around, but that's the way they did it. Live and learn. The Rays are very, very, very. The Rays are number one for a reason. So they can hit. Yeah. And my problem with their strategy against the Rays is that they don't like velocity. They're the worst hitting fastball team in the majors. So
the Rays are, or the Jays?
The Rays are. Okay. The Rays. The Jays are close. The Jays are, I think,
the Jays are from a high heat standpoint aren't very good apparently, and that's all they threw at them. So
the Rays are worse statistically. So would have been nice to maybe see Walker pitch game one. I know it was the whole rest and the days off in between, but these guys are pros. We're talking a mile per hour at most. Like I would like to see Walker pitch game two. You got to go with your strengths because I don't think the difference between Ryu and Walker is that much. So anyway, again, hindsight's 20/20. But if you're going to be an analytical team like that, then that's kind of a big deal. When a team can't hit fastballs, you throw pitchers who throw fastballs. So 8-2 was awful. It was 7-zip before I blinked. I mean, you had texted me the score, and I'm like, I was on my way somewhere, and I'm like, what the hell? What? Yeah. 7-0 in a closeout game? Anyway, enough about the Jays. It was a good year. There's a lot to look forward to. There are things they need to improve. It looks like they've got something in Alejandro Kirk. Danny Jansen hit 2 bombs. I mean, that's promising, right? It's 2 hits in a playoff game, 2 bombs. Promising stuff. So a lot to look forward to. They got to certainly to make a choice with Reese McGuire, but I'm looking forward to this offseason and see what they do. And the big Nate looked awesome. You know what I really liked? Did you see the tweets from the kids in the minors?
No.
Alec Manoah, who throws 100 miles an hour, who's got Nate Pearson type stuff, a little bit more aggressive and a little bit more of an edge to him. He's like 6'7", 280, starting pitcher. He's like, don't worry, boys, help is coming. And there's a picture of him. I thought super cool. And then Jordan Groshans, who's another shortstop in the pipeline, I think he's like 3rd or 4th in the Jays pipeline. He wrote, we're going to be good for a very long time. This is just the beginning. So, I mean, there's some stuff to get excited about if you're a Jays fan.
It's going to be funny to look back at some of those tweets because at some point those guys will be moved and they'll be on like a different team or something. And they'll be like, I was really trying to sell it. And now now I'm out.
Well, I've been calling Alec Manoah's name all year as a guy for the Jays fans to keep an eye on. Jordan Groshans, I mean, I don't know. You get to the pros and you could go either way. You can go Alex Gonzalez or Tony Fernandez. Who knows? Anyway, really quickly, the American League matchups are awesome. Okay, the sad news is that Jays are out.
Yeah.
But the next round is awesome. It's a best of 5.
I don't know why the first one was a best of 3 either. I'm like, you have 60 games, you already shorted it down, make it a best of 5. Jays would have probably lost all 3 games anyway, so that's not whatever. But I was kind of like, But I'd rather a best of 3 than a best of 1. Continue.
Amen. I was just going to say that. Yanks and Rays, they don't like each other. They plunked each other a couple times this year. I think it started with the Yankees and the Rays retaliated, and the Yankees retaliated. Like I don't think you're going to see a lot of plunking in a playoff game, but these guys do not like each other. Aaron Boone and Kevin Cash do not like each other. So it's an intriguing matchup on that end. The Astros and the A's are the other side.
Mm-hmm.
They also don't like each other
this year, didn't they?
Yes, they had 2 brawls. And then, of course, all the crap with the Houston Astros cheating and all that, and the A's calling him out on it. I mean, I'm just rooting for the A's so hard. I can't even tell you how hard I'm rooting for them. So one thing that surprised me, I'm not sure, maybe you know more about this than I do. The Minnesota Twins, who lost to the Astros, they kept Donaldson off their playoff roster. I thought that was a peculiar move, and I don't know. I haven't looked into it. I don't know if he was hurt or I don't know what the deal
up. There was something because I saw that after one of the games I was watching. It came underneath, whatever. I thought it was an injury related.
We really need Kurt to check this stuff like in real time when we bring it up.
Oh yeah, we need a lot of things for this podcast.
Yeah, but we're doing okay anyways. I thought that was peculiar. Anyway, the Braves and Dodgers are waiting to play the winner of the Cubs and Marlins. Marlins are up 1-0. Game 2 is today at 2:00. The Marlins. That's incredible. That's incredible stuff. They basically gave away half their team in the last 2 years, and they rebuilt on the fly with a few like veteran guys and a couple of like not necessarily top tier prospects, but good enough. And they've had some good pitching, and here they are. They're about to eliminate the Cubs. Pretty wild stuff.
Is it just like a big advantage for like the Marlins and the Rays during this COVID time because like they're still allowed to have all their fans at the games? It's the same thing for them. They don't have.
Hello.
No? Okay.
Oh, maybe yeah.
It could be.
Maybe they're just used to the silence.
The Trop looked filled. Anyway.
Padres and Cardinals are now 1-1 after the Padres came back and won 11-9 yesterday. A great series. Padres are a fun young team, a lot like the Jays, but a little bit more of a veteran presence on that team. Fun series. I'm looking forward to seeing the end of that. But
Tatis is fun to watch. He's got a bit of an edge to him.
Machado's on that San Diego team as well. And they picked up Mitch Moreland. There's good starting pitching, and they're a fun team. Love their uniforms. The brown, brown on yellow. It's nice. Anyway, there's our MLB talk. Congratulations to the Jays on making the playoffs. Hopefully, they can take that next step next year. But time for some a little college football. Brock, you can cue up the music because I know how excited that gets you.
It does. It's like, I don't know if you've ever seen those memes where it's like, oh, if the wife, she plays the NFL theme song, the husband comes running. This would be what gets me into the room.
Okay.
College football's back. I said it last week. We got the SEC finally is back in. The Big Ten will be on shortly. So for the games that you guys that I suggested watching, obviously Florida Ole Miss wasn't a bad game to start with. I forgot that Ole Miss has Matt Corral, which was initially, I watched this guy during the Elite 11, which is where they take the top like high school quarterbacks and compete, and Trevor Lawrence was there, all that kind of stuff. So I wanted to see how Corral was doing because he was a Gator commit at the time. Now he flipped before his freshman year, I think, or whatever, so he went to Ole Miss. I forgot. I'm like, why do I know that name? Oh, yeah, because he used to be a Gator, flipped over to Ole Miss, then he got his ass kicked by the Gators. Although he did look pretty good, so I'll give him that. But Florida pulled that out. I said Kentucky-Auburn would be a pretty good game, which ended up being a pretty good game. Auburn ended up winning, but Kentucky was right in there. Miami destroyed Florida State. The West Virginia-Oklahoma State game was all Oklahoma State, really, but those were for the two Canadian kids that I wanted to watch. Tennessee-South Carolina was good. Tennessee ended up winning that. The games that I didn't think were going to be as good as they were, I went 8 for 3 in my picks on CBS, and I picked Kansas State to with the spread, but they ended up beating Oklahoma for the second year in a row. So unranked Kansas State.
That's a big deal.
It is a big deal. Now Oklahoma's got the freshman quarterback, right? Or not a freshman, but his first-year quarterback because Hurts was there last year. But still, this is the second time, and Oklahoma blew like a 14 or something lead in the fourth quarter. So good on Kansas State for coming through. But the game that really stood out, and I forgot to put the clip on here to share, but LSU, Mississippi State. So LSU is national champs. They're back. They're retooling. Joe Burrow is gone, so they got this Brennan kid who's in there. And the kid comes out and throws 27 for 46 for 345 yards and 3 touchdowns. Impressive. But they play Mississippi State, which is Mike Leach's new offense. And they got this kid Costello against LSU, who's, again, notoriously good on defense and hard to play against. This kid goes 36 for 60 for 623 yards and 5 touchdowns versus the national champs from last year.
Wow.
Unbelievable. And Mike Leach has this little video, this hype video. It's on Twitter somewhere or whatever, and it's like it's a slow-mo video of a wagon, like an old school Western wagon, and it's got some band members and stuff around, and it kind of like the camera moves up and catches him. He's sitting on top of the bandwagon, and he's looking at the camera, and he goes, "You looking for a bandwagon to jump on?" He's like, "Come on up." And it's like the Mississippi State bandwagon, and now everybody's, anyway, the guy can coach offense, and they put up stats like crazy. And the fact that it was against LSU is insane, and I never would have imagined that would have happened, especially week 1.
60 pass attempts.
60.
That's incredible. You don't see that a lot in college football.
No, not at all. I mean, 623 yards is, from an SEC standpoint, that might be a record. I have to check that. But
wow,
I mean, that's just it's unreal. So that was really good. That was probably the best ones. This week, there's not as many intriguing matchups. It seems to be a lot of one-sided ones. But at 3:30, you got Texas A&M at Alabama. Texas A&M is ranked right now, but Alabama is favored by 17.5.
I hate both teams.
Yeah. 7:30, I mean, there is Florida plays who do they play this week? Anyway, 7:30, it's Auburn at Georgia, and that's a game that I'll watch as well because Auburn is 8, Georgia's 4 right now. The new AP poll has Clemson 1, Bama 2, Florida's moved up to 3, Georgia's at 4, Notre Dame 5, OSU. So Ohio State, who hasn't played yet, is down at 6. I think they started a bit higher, but because they haven't played yet, they got jumped. But they start, I believe it's next week. And then Auburn at 7, and Miami is up at 8, surprisingly enough. But I think that's, again, limited to the fact that not everybody's playing right now. So you kind of have to take it with a grain of salt. Florida's is hosting South Carolina this week at noon. I don't see South Carolina.
The
Gamecocks, yeah. And I checked it, that the Helinski kid didn't play for them last week. So I don't know. I have to look into a bit more as to why he's not. But that's the college football take right now. Hey, it's back on. I can't wait. Yeah, as much as I hate the Big Ten, I don't hate the Big Ten. I don't like the Big Ten. Getting more of these teams back and playing is going to be, again, more like college football, a regular season. They're allowed, most places are allowed about 20% of their fans in. So, in a place like the Swamp, that's 20,000 fans still spread out through the stadium. So it still has a pretty decent atmosphere. You can still hear the crowd. I don't know if they're pumping noise on top of the crowd noise, but I don't think so. I think they're just pretty rowdy people. And it's been fun. So hopefully the Big Ten comes back. Hopefully they're fine. As we're seeing with the NFL, there's players are testing positive. You got the Steelers-Titans game that's being postponed because of that. So, we got to appreciate what we have right now because who knows how long it's going to last.
Well, perfect segue. I mean, I don't want to talk about this. I'm just throwing this number out here. As of this morning, 141 new cases of COVID today in Ottawa. It's a big number.
That's a big number.
We have to be careful here in our own city, but it looks like, for the most part, the NFL's done a good job. I mean, I don't know where Tennessee caught the virus. Luckily, nobody in Minnesota was affected, so their schedule remains the same, and they've opened their facility, and their game's going to happen, as it was scheduled. This looks like this Tennessee-Pittsburgh delay isn't going to really affect too much. The way it works out, they can play it in week 7 or something like that, and then it doesn't affect Pittsburgh has a bye week the week after. They can move their game against Baltimore that week instead because they're both on a bye. So it worked out. It looks like it's going to work out perfectly just to delay it and not have it as an additional game or
I think
like at the end of the season?
That helps when you have no fans, you're not allowed fans, is the rescheduling and rejigging of stadiums and who's playing where. If you have fans, then you have that extra element of refunds and when they're going to get out. If there's no fans, it's like, hey, you guys are getting paid to do this. You have nothing else going on. We're going to schedule you on a Wednesday at noon. You're going to play then. You know, realistically, you could do that. Now there's TV rights and stuff to take consideration, but you don't have to worry about refunds and getting other people there and the rest of the staff and security, whatever. So that aspect actually caters to it. You just said 141 cases, and it's funny. I just got an alert on my watch, so I'm on this bench app for because I want to play more goalie, so I put myself on this for like spares or like getting pickup games. And everybody's talking about the new cases and, you know, how much longer will pickup hockey even be allowed. And somebody just posted that it was 141 new cases today. Anyway, I wonder if there's any correlation between, like, if you said there are going to be teams that catch COVID or have some instances of COVID in the NFL that are going to cost games. Las Vegas, New Orleans, Nashville, maybe New York, maybe LA, like those areas. And if you see a pattern there, it's that those are destination areas, party towns, a lot of gatherings and opportunity to go out where you're going to have contact with a lot of people. And I don't know if there is a correlation between the two, but Tennessee is in Nashville, right? And that's a notorious party town. So who knows? It takes one guy, bench warmer, to go out and say, screw it, I'm going out to drink or hook up, whatever, and he's out, and he brings it back. I guess we have to see
the state regulations would also, I mean, no matter how big a town is in terms of partying, if their regulations state that your bars are closed at a certain hour, it's going to be limited. So I'd have to. Make a great point. I don't think New York's really a hotbed for partying right now. There's a lot going on in New York City. I mean, they flattened the curve, but violence and crime is up like tenfold in New York. So I don't know if COVID is really a hotspot there right now. I don't think it was on the list of states that have shown a rise. But you make a great point. And those cities, I mean, Las Vegas, you know, like it's a destination place for Canadians to go and party, let alone people who live in or around the area. So wild stuff going on. I mean, the NFL up to now, we're going into week 4, and we've really only had one team that's been infected and affected. So, you know, by all accounts, it's only 3 players, and the rest were staff. So, like, I think we're going to be okay. But cross your fingers that these players keep staying responsible, so that, you know, there are no delays and setbacks, because football can get really complicated. You have to start canceling games because it's only once a week, right? It's not like you can have a doubleheader in baseball or even in hockey. Like football, you need a week off to rest. So you start doing that.
It's not only a week off; it's a week planning. So they talk about, why don't you just get the Pittsburgh to play whoever the other team was? There was a chance. Well, that was Minnesota, I think, right? Minnesota had. There was a chance there was another game that wasn't going to be playing. So, like, why don't you have the Steelers play these guys? Well, you need a week to prepare and adjust your scheme accordingly to that team and their defense. So it's not easy to do in a football realm. And you said it was mostly staff, right, that were infected?
I think it's 3 players and 5 staff or 6 staff. Or it's double the amount of players. Okay. But it wasn't a huge number. But anyways.
Would that be considered a staff infection?
What's that?
Would that be considered a staff infection?
No. All
right, moving on. Next one.
No. All right, I do want to talk a little NFL.
That was good.
Aaron Rodgers. I just, you know what? The guy maybe a couple of years ago he got a lot of credit, and, you know, he was the poster child for how you want your quarterback to be. But now we're talking 10 years removed from his Super Bowl victory. The guy is playing some of the best football of his career. I can't even name you 3 of his receivers. I think Lazard is one, and Adams is the other.
Adams, Gatling, whatever. That
he's doing it. He's doing it with, and I would say this throughout his whole career. He's done the most with the least. And I'm not afraid to say that. And, people can say, well, Tom Brady, look what Tom Brady, every year he has a new receiving core. Wes Welker went ahead and played with Denver and had a pretty good year with Peyton Manning in Denver. I mean, there are examples of guys going out and moving on. And look at it. Aaron Hernandez and Rob Gronkowski were the best tight ends in the NFL for a couple of years. So to say that he didn't have the talent, I don't know about that. But like a guy like Drew Brees, even, I mean, he's had, all pro wide receivers throughout his whole career. He's had first round draft picks at running back. He's had good offensive lines. Ben Roethlisberger has had really, really good wide receivers, good running backs. They draft well. I mean, I'm using those quarterback names because they're around the same age as Aaron Rodgers, or certainly in the same area in terms of their careers. Aaron Rodgers is playing the best football of his career right now. Does he not get enough credit?
I think he had a bit of a down tick at one point, and I think that's what maybe had kept him underappreciated, I guess, to say the least. I think. But
when was the down tick?
Well, over maybe not last year, but it was maybe 2 or 3 years ago, where he didn't seem his normal self. His arm wasn't quite what it was. He seemed to be frustrated with some of the receivers and trying to work out that timing. And I don't know if that timed up with the first year that LaFleur was in or not. But I think there was also, was it McCarty right before him?
I think it was last year, because McCarthy was fired, I think, midway through last year.
Anyway, it was around that coaching turnover that and they started losing a lot of their offensive line. So, T.J. Lang had left, and Bulaga was Sitton was traded away to the Bears, and you started losing some of the key guys from the offensive line too. And I think that's what. And they hadn't had a real established running game at the time either. And anyway, there was a couple of things. But overall, and even that, those down ticks or those underappreciations, he was still a top 5 quarterback probably, or at least top 10. But I agree with you. I think he's done probably the most with the least. I think Russell Wilson might be the next guy, in my opinion, as to who would have done more with less. But yeah, I mean, Aaron Rodgers is the rejuvenation of an old quarterback, very much like they did with Brett Favre. I feel like Brett Favre was on that kind of whatever, and then they drafted Aaron Rodgers to be behind him, and then Favre went off on a few years that were just unreal. And that little kick in the ass of saying there's somebody else that we're bringing in. So I'm curious to see over the next little while how that actually plays out. Do they trade Rodgers or not sign him or let him go somewhere else, so that now they're saying, you know what, Justin Love is ready to go. It's year 3. He's studied the tutelage by Rodgers and is now ready to take the reins, and we're moving on to the next round, to the next era, just like they did within the Brett Favre one. But I'm curious. I think it's just it's a rejuvenated Rodgers who's playing pissed off to a point where he didn't like the fact they drafted somebody else. And this guy is, I've said it before, where from a quarterback standpoint, it was Breeze and Green Bay last week, Breeze and Rodgers last week. And I thought, okay, who are we going to pick? And I was like, you know what? Adams is out. Michael Thomas is out. Rodgers is going to be fine because he doesn't care who's on the other end of that ball. He doesn't have that relationship. He's going to throw a ball so hard that you have no choice but to catch it, where Breeze is going to be more effective by not having a Michael Thomas. And what happened? Green Bay beat them.
Yep.
And Rodgers had a great game. I mean, anyway, it's I'm a huge Rodgers fan.
Yeah, and I'm watching him play at this level. And we talked about this a little bit last week. He's committed to his lower body this year. He said the first off season in a long time, he just focused on his lower body, like flexibility and strength and agility and lateral strength, so that when he does get out of the pocket, he's not going to. I mean, how many times in the last couple of years has he either blown a calf or blown a hamstring and played through it? So it's a very interesting division. Them and the Bears sit at 3-0. The Bears are now moving on from Trubisky. They've said Foles is our guy.
Big Dick Nick.
Hey, I got to say this about Nick Foles. One guy said when he gets in the huddle, Foles is all confidence. Foles can read and change plays at the line of scrimmage where Trubisky just couldn't. and Foles could read a defense and make a guy go, change a receiver's pattern or hot route or whatever he was doing, and he does it with confidence and he knows. Whereas Trubisky just hasn't evolved yet. So, I mean, a good move for the Bears. Hey, 3-0 is 3-0, man. I don't care what team you are. 3-0 is to get 3 wins in the NFL before the week 4 is pretty impressive. So that's an interesting division. I do think the Packers are going to end up winning that division. But the Lions, big win last week. They beat the Cardinals. That's an impressive win. Mm-hmm. The Chiefs look awesome. Did you watch last night's game?
I watched some of it because I've piggybacked on Curtis's bets, and that was one of them, was Denver +1. And I watched the Darnold's run, which, hey, it was a long run. It was one I didn't expect from Darnold to do. And if you watch the slow motion, there's an end zone view where you see him kind of running at the end zone, and then a side one where you get a clear shot of his face. And have you ever run where like a dog's chasing you and it's like it's going to catch you, but you start running and you're running in that like really weird. It's not a track run. It's like a run with like your butts forward because you don't want to get anything, whatever. And you got that like it's that feeling. Anyway, Darnold's run from start to finish was that kind of run. He was just running for his life. And just waiting to get crushed. And it was one of those like, hey, all of a sudden I'm in the end zone. But I'm like, it looked uncomfortable the whole way. But whatever, he got there.
By no means was he Michael Vick. But yeah, I mean, that was a great run. Another tough loss for the Jets, who are completely outmanned. Like they don't have an offensive line. They don't have a substantial running game. Frank Gore's a good running back, but I mean, he's year 17. What are you going to get from him? Bell doesn't want to be there. They have no receivers. There's holes everywhere. And on top of that, they were so undisciplined. And Greg Williams is their defensive coordinator. Yeah, good tactician, sure. He likes to dial up as many blitzes as he could possibly dial up. But they're so undisciplined. I mean, they had 9 penalties in the first half, and big ones too, like roughing the quarterback and late hit. The quarterback was sliding, they hit the guy in the head. I mean, stupid stuff. But Greg Williams is the same guy that was accused of Bountygate there a few years ago when he was the Saints. Right. I mean, this guy is notorious for dirty. So, I mean, is that the guy you want coaching young? Remember? Pardon me?
Do you remember who the bounty was supposed to be on? Or was it just anybody, right? It was like if you take somebody. Anyway.
I believe so. But this is a guy who's coaching up a pretty young defense. Is that the guy you want coaching up young guys? Like Quinnen Williams? Is that the guy you want coaching up young guys? A guy who's known for a bounty hunter, Bountygate, known for talking trash, known for actually teaching dirty tactics. I mean, is that the guy you want coaching a young defense like that? Because I couldn't even name you another guy in their defense other than Quinnen Williams.
Probably not.
Probably not. I mean, that's a stupid personnel decision by a really poorly run organization in New York who friggin' traded up to get Darnold.
But, I mean, he's a coordinator, right? The development, so he is a tactician, like you said. It's the positional coaches that will have more an effect from a grooming and preparation, relationship type standpoint. The coordinator does his thing in terms of where they got to be, and here's the game plan. But the positional coaches. So if there's a positional coach that can be sort of a buffer or a better example for these players underneath him, then I think you're probably okay. But again, it all stems from remember the Titans? Attitude reflects leadership.
Yeah, for sure. Right. Looking at the AFC, I mean, we got a big matchup this week. The Patriots and Chiefs, big matchup. That's a big one for the Patriots. I mean, certainly if they come out and win there, I mean, that propels them right up with the upper echelon. The Buffalo Bills got away with one last week, I would have to say. I'm happy that they won because I'm a Bills fan, but they got away with one. And, that game was a very entertaining game. The Rams came back. They were down 20, and they came back. It was awesome. And a very entertaining game. Josh Allen looks like the real deal.
Does he, though?
Well, listen.
I think he lucked out into like 3 or 4 different plays. I think he's still immature where there's plays he's got to get rid of the ball or get whatever, and he's lucky he didn't turn the ball over. The fighting with defensive linemen and like the ball hanging loose and stuff, I think he got away with a lot of things. I also think that the Rams should never have gotten back into the game because the play that they called was a huge turn of events where it was a pass to Knox, who caught the ball. Knox is the tight end for the Bills, caught the ball, and then they came down to the ground. And then the Rams guy had like wrestled it from him. But Knox had the ball. He had the catch already. But not only did they, I think they looked at it, but they called it interception and kept it an interception. So not only was it, I think it was a pass interference too maybe or some option, but it wasn't a catch. It was a pick. So now a complete turn of events where Buffalo's now in scoring position again to extend their lead to 3 scores, I think. Gave the ball back to the Rams, and then they go down and score. Momentum just like changed from there. And I thought that Allen did a good job to get them back in and ultimately win the game. But I thought as I was watching this comeback, he was very, very lucky on a lot of occasions. And I thought that he basically put himself in situations to lose that game more so than to win that game.
That's a good point. I do say, though, he made 2 huge. There was the 3rd and 22, and there was a 3rd and 18, and he converted both on beautiful passes up the middle. So for what he did, I mean, he's young, right? I mean, my comparison is to Ben Roethlisberger because they're about the same size. But Big Ben, in his first 3 years, I want to rip my hair out. He'd for every great play he made, he'd pull a bonehead, try to fend off a defensive tackle with one arm while holding the ball with his other hand. So I get exactly what you're saying, but I think the Bills should be pretty excited with the fact that he's making these improvements to his game and progressing every week. 3rd and 22 with the game on the line, and he converts. So got to give him some credit where credit's due.
Yeah.
It was an interesting week. Right now, I have to say the Chiefs look like they're the AFC team to beat, and in the NFC, I mean, I don't know. Like there's the Packers are 3-0, and everyone else. The Atlanta Falcons, Brock. It seems like every week we're talking about them not being able to hold a lead again.
Yeah,
again. We're just talking about the Cowboys mess.
Yeah, this is their entity. This is what they're being known for, as blowing leads. So any team that plays the Falcons now knows they're never out of it.
Yeah, and it's sad because I think Dan Quinn's a good coach. I think it's just been a mess since the Super Bowl, and they have talent. It's not for a lack of talent, certainly on offense, but now we're looking at like it's just a mental thing now. So they may need to remove the core of that team, which is either the quarterback, the coach, or both. Something needs to change because right now it's just not jiving.
They may need just a refresh from a defensive standpoint. Like the offense is still moving and they're putting points up, and Ryan is having a pretty good year, like all things considered. So I don't think they put up enough points to win games.
Yeah. And
that's not even putting a lot of pressure on the defense to say you got to keep them to 2 scores or something. There's a lot of leeway there, but I think after a while when you start blowing leads, you start being a bit more cautious. And what happens there? You start playing prevents, and then people start picking that apart. And then what? Then you lose, and then you're like, okay, what do I do? You just got to be aggressive. Like, you got to keep your foot down and say, you know what? Like, we're not going to sit back anymore and wait for this team to beat us. We're going to go after them, and they're going to have to make the right plays, and we'll risk it. We're losing anyway, so let's try and win the game as opposed to let's try not to lose it.
Absolutely, and we see that all the time in every sport. Really, teams just don't play to win; they just play not to lose. So that's all I got for NFL. We'll talk a little bit more NFL next week. I know we've sort of we're cutting our NFL stuff short, but really quickly, congratulations to the Tampa Bay Lightning who won the Stanley Cup. That they've been the best team in the NHL for the last couple of years. So they had a tough first round loss last week.
Yeah.
Last year, sorry, I should say. They came back, redeemed themselves this year. So congratulations to them. Really, really well-coached team. Well-balanced, good defense, good offense, deep. I mean, everything you want in a hockey team, they are. For today's, the way hockey's played now, they're the team to beat. So Happy for Stamkos as well. Buck, I want to ask you, what are the chances of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Tampa Bay Devil Rays winning titles this year to join the Lightning? I don't think there are many cities that have had the like grand slam of championships, but like, do you think the Bucks and Rays have legit chances at the Super Bowl and the World Series?
Rays, obviously, they're quite good. I don't think the Bucks have a shot.
No, you don't. You don't think the Bucks with Tom Brady and them being 2-1, and it's not a crazy strong NFC. You don't think they have a chance, eh?
Well, everybody has a chance. If they make the playoffs, everybody has a chance, and we've seen it before from Tom's Patriot teams where they get in the playoffs, and when they get in the playoffs, they're dangerous, and they also, but again, that's a Tom and the Patriots. I think that's more of a Belichick thing. Belichick team gets in the playoffs, he's going to mix everything up completely. I think Arians gets in the playoffs, it's going to be standard what he's doing, and I think people are going to know it at that point. So it's not the same situation whatsoever. I think Tampa, the Lightning have won it. The Rays are probably pretty favored, other than maybe the Dodgers. But I think obviously the Bucks are going to be the hardest sell on that, and I just don't. I don't see that happening. I'm not putting any money on the Bucks to win the Super Bowl right now.
I'll agree with you in the sense that from what I've seen from Tampa these first 3 weeks has not impressed me at all. I think Brady looks a lot like he did last year, and he's got a lot more weapons, but he looks very similar. And again, I have part of that blame has to go to Arians, and I was calling it. I called it when this happened. I said Arians' offense is going to get Tom killed. So unless the two of them could find some common ground, I haven't been overly impressed with their play. The Tampa Bay Rays, they played the Jays 7 times. I think they played the Red Sox like 8 times out of 60 games. It's just in a full season. So I'm not ready to crown them as number one. They finished number one because they had the best record, but they didn't play everybody. So I find their record a little bit deceiving. I don't know if they have the sustained hitting to get them past the Yankees. The Glasnow and Snell are 2 phenomenal pitchers. After that, it's Charlie Morton. In a best of 5, I think they can get past this next round. But in a best of 7, I don't know if they have the horses. Again, number one team. I think if you were to tell me who's more likely to win, the Bucks or the Rays, I'd have to go Rays right now. But I'm not sold on them. Yes, they put a number on the Jays, but the Jays are young. So I don't know. That's an interesting conversation. But
I like the Rays bats. I like how they manufacture runs and need to. I like that nobody on there is cockier than the team or thinks they're bigger than the team, I guess is the feeling I get from them. It's not like, you know what I mean? Like, let's say Stanton and those guys that go up from a Yankee standpoint, they're expected to hit home runs. They're going to go and do that. And like the Jays used to be, with Bautista and Encarnacion and Slovatis and Donaldson, it's like everybody's expecting the home run. We're going for the home run, but nobody's willing to sort of say, you know what, I'm going to shorten my swing. I'm just going to try and pop one over second base and go. I think the Rays all do that.
100%. Willie Adames, Kiermaier, Adames, the Brandon Lau. They're loaded with guys like that. So they're a team that I hope the Jays can become. Plus a little bit of extra pop with Guerrero.
Right.
But it'd be nice to see the Jays become that team that can manufacture runs and hit the ball where you aren't, which I saw Brandon Lau do in the first game. I'm like, we're in trouble, where we shifted all the way to the right, and he just did some sort of half swing on a fastball, and it went right where we weren't. So the Jays are going to get there. I hope that's their future. Really quick to end, my contribution to this show is just really quickly, the Lakers look so dominant. King James was out of his mind how well he was playing in that game 1. He started off slow. I don't even think he put up that many shots, but he's just so damn efficient. He ended up with a triple-double again. So efficient, so smart. They had he had the ball on the baseline, and the camera view went to like the court view. I'm not sure if you've seen this, but sometimes they bring the camera to court view. And so the camera was basically right where he was standing. And so you could see him take his guy one-on-one. And it's rare, unless you've got courtside seats, it's rare you get this vantage point when you're watching on TV. He just took the guy. The guy was like, he may as well have been a mosquito. And he got to wherever he wanted to on the court, and then he finished with a reverse layup. And I'm like, he is so much stronger than everybody else on the court right now. And he has that game one has just basically now it just what any confidence the Heat had coming into this championship is now gone. They're intimidated. They're overpowered, overstrength. Dwight Howard looked like he was 21 years old. Dwight Howard just eliminated Bam Adebayo. Eliminated him. Over. You're not. I'm stronger than you are. I'm going to get every rebound, and you're not going to do a thing on me. And I was so impressed. And of course, AD with his 35 and 10 or whatever he had. Yeah. I mean, that team is destined. So I think I was calling the Lakers in 5. I think it'll actually be a sweep, but who knows? Doc Rivers. Doc Rivers is now the coach of the Sixers. You have an opinion on that?
Wow, you're making me have a love interest with him, but I thought it was good. I thought, hey, I made a comment to saying that I think the Sixers are now. For those who don't know, if you look at our Facebook page, Pep was chirping me a bit because I was defending Doc and saying, look. Like he with Philadelphia is now a very big hurdle for the Raptors. And you said, you know what, their personnel, they need big personnel changes in order to be competitive. And I argue that Doc is a big personnel change, and that's going to bring a different mentality to that team. And then all of a sudden I was infatuated with
Vince
Doc.
Lombardi.
Or whatever. Yeah. Thanks, Vince Lombardi. Anyway, I think that's a great hire. I think he will bring changes to it. But even if they kept every player on that team current and what they have right now, I think all those players collectively will be better, and that team will be better next year because of the mentality and the focus that Doc Rivers brings and what he's going to instill in them in terms of from a team aspect. So I think it's a great hire for Philly. I think it's a great place for Doc too, to be honest. Like he's, obviously a very big I don't say, maybe advocate, of the what's going on right now in today's world and what the Black Lives Matter movement and all that kind of stuff. And I think, even though in LA, obviously there's the opportunity to do that, but you're still in an organization that just recently got rid of a blatantly racist owner and whatever. I think Philadelphia, you maybe have, I don't know, a bit better of a platform even, or be able to follow that too. So anyway, I just think it's a good fit for him, and I just think from a Raptors standpoint, that's going to be tough.
Yeah, no, what? It's for sure. You cannot disagree with anything you said. I do think those Sixers are poorly constructed, and I do think Doc will. I'm sure there was some backstage chatter with the owner saying, "Look, if I do accept this position, this is what we need." I'm sure they looked at the roster and said, we can't win with this roster. They're too big and too slow. So Montrezl Harrell's a UFA. I could see Doc bringing in a couple of Clipper guys, to have some familiarity with his offense. Maybe the point guard, Pat Beverly, I believe, is also a UFA. He'd be a Philly guy. He'd be the perfect fit in Philly. So we'll see what happens. It is a good hire, but they won't win with how they're constructed. And that's just they haven't won. So we'll see what happens, but yeah, good hire for them. Good solid guy too, Doc Rivers. I'm a big fan of Doc Rivers. The last thing I wanted to mention, that the team that he's leaving,
Clippers,
has Kawhi Leonard, by demanding Paul George and it not working out in year one, and then now them losing their head coach, has he really messed up the Clippers for the next 3-4 years? Because these guys are signed to max contracts, so there's not a whole lot the Clippers can do now. In terms of a supporting cast, you're tied into these two guys. You're committed to these two guys. Paul George is on the other end of his career now. Like, he's not a spring chicken. He's going to be 31. In basketball years, that's pretty old. I just think Kawhi Leonard is screwed over the Clippers now. They're screwed.
They're in a tough spot. And I mean, when Kawhi and George signed, I think we all remember the press conference where their owner was like a 12-year-old girl jumping around and like getting everybody fired up and whatever. I don't think he's as fired up right now. So do they come back? And they talk about coming back together and making a run at it next year. But I never felt the Clippers actually. Like I didn't feel that they were really a team. You know what I mean? Like I felt it was very, very individual, and you just can't win that way. I think even there is star power with the Lakers, but I think LeBron is more like he really thinks of the team And that, I mean, his stats say that too. Like, oh, everybody criticizing for not taking the last shot. No, because he knows that that's not the best option because he's going to be double teamed or whatever. So he'll find the open guy and let his teammate hit the shot, which is what they're supposed to do. But I think because of that mentality, and I think, you know, the difference between Kawhi and LeBron is that I think LeBron is a guy that makes a team out of his guys as much as he can, and Kawhi I don't think has that ability as much. He's a very, very, very good player, but is he the guy, like he had Lowry in Toronto to do that team stuff, where then he had Kawhi to just play basketball. In LA, you know, I don't know if he thought George was going to do it, but I don't see George being that kind of guy either. So it just seemed like they were both very good players, you know, amongst a bunch of other guys where, you know, LeBron or Lowry would bring in and make it more of a team environment. And I think that that's what's showing through with LA is that you've taken these real good players, these stars of other teams, and everybody's kind of bought into what they got to do. And Dwight Howard, you've talked about Dwight Howard, and Dwight Howard is probably the most, one of the most not underrated, overrated players or underachieving players that I can remember in the last little while, where he has so many physical gifts and abilities, and I know he's had some injuries and stuff, but I just feel like he's never really lived up to the expectations of what Dwight Howard should be. And even though he's not the star, he understands his role in this team. I think that's given him a bit of a life too, to say, I don't have the pressure that way. And he's gone out and is doing his job, and he's doing it very, very well. And it's probably, you know, the best I've seen from a Dwight Howard over the last few years.
I mean, for a guy who doesn't get the ball ever, and they don't run any plays for him ever, I mean, he had 10 rebounds and 0 points at one point last game, and he was more than happy to be that guy, and he had 3 or 4 blocks. So he was coming over, he's blocking shots, rebounding, changing, completely physically dominating Jokic in the Denver series and Bam Adebayo. You know, I could do a whole show on Dwight Howard, but like when he went to LA the first time, he had an ego, and he wanted the ball, and he wanted plays run for him. And, you know, he had suffered what would probably end most guys' careers. That's how bad his back injury was. No one really knew about it. You know, he looked like he was a shell of himself his first time in LA. And then he bounced around since then, you know, and he was like, I want the ball. He was in Washington, Atlanta, and like, you know, he wasn't the guy he was in Orlando. You know, your back injury made him suffer. He changed his body, he changed his fitness routine, and now he looks like he's young again. Huge fan of LeBron James. This is the most I've watched of him in the longest stretch of time, and now I'm really seeing what he can do in terms of getting all the other guys elevating their games. Do I still think he's a defensive liability? One-on-one, no, but help defense, LeBron is just not a help defender. But in a one-on-one, he can hold his own. So I'm going to give him more credit than I have in the past in terms of defense. I still think as in terms of his help, he watches his teammates get beat one-on-one and is very slow to rotate, if he rotates at all. But from a one-on-one perspective, you know, he said, I'll take Jamal Murray, and he shut Jamal Murray down. I'll take Kawhi Leonard. I'll be my responsibility. I can respect that.
Good.
On that note, we're approaching an hour, and I got to pee like a racehorse.
Yeah, we got to probably get out of here. So we're going out to a couple of different things.
Yeah.
Gotta get to work.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
I'll be back in 1 second while you play this.
Come on.
All right, I'm not playing the whole thing, so hurry up.
My name is Willie.
Willie beaming,
I keep the ladies
creaming,
and all my fans got
dreaming.
you can defeat me.
Arguably one of the best football movies ever made. And so, you know, I've watched this multiple times, and I think that the more you watch it, the better it gets. And if you've played any sports at high level, a lot of things start to come into understanding when you watch this movie. There's a lot. It's exaggerated, but there's a lot of stuff that is very, very accurate.
Meanwhile, honey, you used to do this spot alone.
Finished. Okay, yeah. Could you take care of Julian for me?
All right. He's not back yet. We don't have all day. I'm going to put this out. We got a couple songs we're going to go out to. The first one is for one special listener. He's a Facebook page, UC commenter. He's always got something to say. He posts. He participates. And that's Mike Gatta. He loves the cello. So this is Despacito, the cello remix for Mike Gatta.
Have a good weekend, everybody.
There it is. Okay. I can listen to that the whole time. We're going to go. This is not the song we're going out to. I was listening in the car to satellite radio, whatever, and this song came on. It was Drake, and the kid he was doing it with, anyway, the song's called Twist and Turn. But I started giggling to myself because I'm like, how does somebody pick, like, there's so many rappers now, so how do you pick your rapper name? And in my mind, I pictured this, I don't know what this kid looks like, but I picture myself like wolfing down or Scott wolfing on like popcorn. You know what I mean? And being like stuffing your face full of popcorn, and then being like, maybe I should be a rapper as you're eating, and you're like, what should my rapper name be? And then somebody being like, wanted to be popcorn, like you're stuffing popcorn in your face. yeah, popcorn. Anyway, this kid's name is Popcorn, so it's not even popcorn. It's Pop CAAN, popcorn. Anyway, I laughed at myself thinking of all this stupid stuff, and this is the song we're going out to. It's Popcorn with Drake.
Anybody who got eyes can't see. She just wanna dance and tease. She just wanna dance and tease me. 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 Missing, you've been missing since 2016. Squid tell me one fix. You know that's my assistant. When she speak, I listen. She swears you're my missus. I say we think different. I see why your heart's icy. Come baby, come try me. Who you gonna love if you run by me, oh? Too many twists and turns, yeah. Love the way you twist and turn, yeah. Maybe call me I too fry, I get burned, yeah.
I love when I record the song, like tape it on the soundboard first, and I get a text message while I'm doing it, and I forget to do that. Everybody's checking their phone now. Oh, I got a message. No, it's rocks.